Hi there, I'm Tom Field. I'm Senior Vice President of Editorial with Information Security Media Group. Very pleased to welcome you to our webinar today, where the topic is money, mandates, and monitoring inside the battle for identity, integrity, and finance. I've got two guests that are going to join me soon. They are Praveen Shabda, he's Practice Director with Simeio, and he's joined by Octavio Lopez, Solutions IAM Architect, also with Simeio. Now, before I bring them onto our stage here, some background on our session today. Financial institutions face a new era of regulatory-driven transformation aimed at enhancing customer trust. This includes the CFPB Open Banking Rule, updates to GLBA, and various state-level mandates, all reflecting the growing concern over the authorization of financial transactions. Like SOX and PCI DSS, these new regulations are fundamentally transforming how financial organizations interact with customers and manage customer access, consent, and identity security. So in this session today, our experts will discuss what the new era of financial identity data security programs look like and key analytics that can assist financial organizations in building consumer trust, minimizing the risk of breaches and insider threats, and confidently meeting evolving compliance requirements. A bit about my organization. Information Security Media Group is a global education and intelligence firm. We're based in the U.S. in Princeton, New Jersey, and of course, you could know us by any number of our 37 media properties. These include Bank Info Security, Data Breach Today, and AItoday.io. In all, we serve an audience of over 1.3 million security and technology leaders globally and give them a daily diet of news, analysis, research, events, and educational programs just like this one. Just a few notes of housekeeping. If you have any questions for Octavio or Praveen, you can submit them anytime by the chat window on your screen. We may not get to every question today, but in that case, we will get a response back to you via email. Should you encounter any technical issues while viewing today's webinar, I urge you to take down the email address you see on your screen. If you write to webinars@ismg.io, we have got support staff standing by to help. And a reminder, today's webinar is copyrighted material meant for today's session and individual study purposes only. If you would like to use any of the information presented today, or if you're looking for customized training materials, please contact us. Let's meet our sponsor today, Simeio. Simeio's managed identity and access management services engage securely with anyone, any device, anywhere, anytime, with an unparalleled service-first philosophy. They thus help businesses reinvent how they engage with customers, how and where their employees work, and how they partner with others securely and efficiently. Their goal, to help your business run your IAM program in the most effective way to maximize your investment in your digital transformation journey. And quickly, we'll meet our speakers. Again, Praveen Shabda is the Practice Director at Simeio. He leads the Access Management and Customer Identity and Access Management practice. And he's got 20 years of global IT experience. Octavio Lopez is a Solutions IAM Architect at Simeio, and again, he has got over 20 years of experience in security. He successfully managed and supported various security-related projects, including designing, deploying, and maintaining identity solutions. With that, let me turn you over to Praveen and Octavio. Gentlemen, center stage is all yours.
Thank you, Tom. Let's reflect really quickly on this saying from Sun Tzu is, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles.
So what does this mean in our world of cybersecurity and identity management? Knowing your enemy means understanding the threat landscape, cyber attackers, insider risk, and third-party vulnerabilities. It's about knowing how they think, how they operate, and where they're likely to strike. And knowing yourself, that's your internal posture, your eye maturity, your gaps, your strengths, and your ability to respond.
Yeah, Praveen, it's like going into a chess match. If you know your opponent's strategy and you know your own pieces, both inside and out, you're not just playing, but you're playing to win. And just to be honest, we know that in this industry, we're not just playing, we're playing to win and we're playing to survive.
Yes, Octavio. So as we move into the next section, keep this in mind. The better we understand both the threats and our own capabilities, the more confident we can be in facing whatever comes next. Because in the end, it's not just about fighting battles. It's about winning them with strategy, insight, and preparation. Let's kick things off by looking at the bigger picture. Financial services have gone digital fast. From mobile banking to peer-to-peer payments, our money is moving in ways that are fast, free, and user-friendly.
Yeah, but with that convenience comes complexity. Now, the real question is, how do we ensure that these interactions that we have with customers, that they're secure and successful, especially in today's digital comes first world? Well, let's look at the left side of this slide. We have financial institutions. They're under pressure to reduce operational costs, stay compliant, attract new customers of all different ages, and they're trying to do this all while competing with other competitors who are trying to do the same thing. So now, what's driving this shift? What's doing this? Well, it's consumer expectations. People want, omni-channel access, better security, and of course, they want to maintain and protect their privacy. And they absolutely expect fraud detection to be built in from the start, not just bolt on afterwards. So think about all the apps that you use for finance. You might have Mint, Venmo, PayPal, Apple Pay, Zelle. Each one of these are potential entry points for identity risk if it's not managed properly.
Yes, and this is where IAM becomes critical, right? It's not just about access, it's also about trust. If users don't feel secure, they won't engage. So to summarize, the business problem isn't just about digital transformation, it's a secure digital transformation. And IAM is at the heart of solving it. Later in the session, we'll explore the tools and strategies financial institutions can use to meet these challenges head on.
Okay, let's go to another saying. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat.
Yeah, this is a powerful reminder that self-awareness alone isn't enough in cybersecurity and especially in the identity management. Knowing your internal systems, policies, and capabilities is essential. But if you don't understand the threat landscape, you're only fighting half the battle. So as we move forward, let's remember true resilience comes from knowing both your strengths and your adversaries. That's how we turn reactive security into proactive strategy.
All right, so welcome to the part of the webinar where we talk about the villains in our story. And it's not just your legacy IAM platforms. Well, maybe it is. But look, this slide, it kind of looks like a sci-fi movie poster. You got this futuristic city with laser beams flying in all directions. But instead of aliens and things like that, it's actually attackers, audits, and outdated tech that's coming for your identity infrastructure.
Yeah, and let's start with the obvious. The attackers love financial institutions. Why? Because that's where the money is, and they're not just attacking randomly, they're strategic. They hit during peak operational periods. It's like they have a calendar mark, launch ransomware during the quarterly earnings.
I'm sure many people can relate to having a security incident at the wrong time.
Yes.
So next up is regulations. And here goes the alphabet soup. NCUA, FFIEC, GLBA, PCI DSS, and the list can go on and on. But let's be honest, passing an audit feels like trying to win a game of Minesweeper blindfolded. Just one wrong click, and then now you have problems. You have auditors coming at you, asking for more information and understanding why your security isn't where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's true. And now customers want it all. They want seamless access, they want top-tier security, and also zero friction. Basically, they just want a Fort Knox-like security with the convenience of a coffee shop Wi-Fi login. Yeah. And finally, the tech mess. You've got IAM platforms that don't talk to each other, legacy systems that require like a PhD to maintain, and disconnected data silos that make integration feel like assembling an IKEA furniture without instructions.
Yeah, some legacy systems can be so old that, you think about, was it built in the 90s? It's just not what we see today.
Yeah, so that's what we are up against, right? It's not just one challenge. It's a coordinated attack on identity integrity from all sides. But don't worry, we've got two tools, strategies, and a few jokes to help you fight back. Let's move on to the key threats.
All right. So welcome to the cybersecurity version of Avengers, except instead of superheroes, we got threats. And instead of saving the world, we're trying to save identity infrastructure. It's like we have all these digital villains. Let's meet this cast of characters that are trying to ruin your day and your compliance score. The first thing that we have is sophisticated cyber attacks. And this is not what we've experienced in the past. Cyber attacks continue to get better and better, and they're looking for different ways to attack you. So that is our first key threat. Now, next we have compromised credentials. See, this is like leaving your house key under your doormat and then just being shocked that if someone walks in.
Yeah, or even worse, like using password like password 123 and then wondering why your account got hacked. If that's your password, you definitely need to change it now.
Okay, so now let's talk about insider threats. Sometimes the threat is coming from inside the house. And it's not always malicious. Sometimes it's just someone from accounting clicking on the wrong video that installs malware and then steals their identity and accesses additional information or identities in the environment. And then we got third parties. Yeah, third parties. You might have the best security in the world, but if your vendor is using a flip phone, sticky notes, and no identity platform, you're still at risk. Next, we have access creep. And it sounds like a villain, right? A bad villain, but access creep is just basically when employees, they collect the rights, like they stack them up over time and they, may not even use them, but they don't want to give them up.
Yeah, and we've even seen a lot of interns having admin rights to some of the mission critical systems. God knows why. I mean, it's like a digital hoarding.
Yeah. And then we have the different types of platform. We have on-premise, we have cloud, we have SaaS.
Yep. So there you have it. There are 6 threats, 1 shield, and a whole lot of reasons to take IAM seriously. So let's talk about some audit and regulatory concerns as well.
All right, so we're going to enter the thrilling world of audits and regulations. And I know you're so excited to talk about this. Let's start with PCI DSS. Think of it like the bouncer of the nightclub of your payment systems. No valid credentials, no entry. Then we got SOX, not the kind you wear, but we are very familiar with SOX. It's the type that keeps your financial reporting clean. GLBA, of course, is the next one. It's your vault guard, protecting customer financial data, and FFIEC, that's a council making sure that everyone's playing by the same rule book.
And there comes the most famous one, NIST SP 853. Now, this one is like hiring a team of cybersecurity ninjas. It's detailed, it's robust, and yes, it's a beast to implement.
Yep, and then we have GDPR, the strict librarian of data privacy, especially when you're dealing with EU customers. And then ISO 27001. It's a blueprint for managing information security risks. And finally, SWIFT is not just how fast you respond to an audit, it's a global standard for securing financial messaging.
Yeah, and so yes, yeah, that's a lot, right? I mean, these frameworks are not just red tape. They are the armor that protects your organization, and your customers, especially in the financial domain.
So next, we're going to show what customers expect to gain and maintain from maintain their trust from their financial provider. So, all right, here's the $1 million question, or in this case, as you can see in the picture, $7,250 question. How do we gain and keep customer trust in a digital first world? Well, let's be honest. If I saw that balance on my banking, I trust my institution with my life, or at least my next coffee order. And let's start with the basics. First impressions matter. If your application that you've created for your customers, the login screen looks like it was designed in the early 2000s, well, your customer is going to choose to go out the door and probably delete your application.
Yeah, that's true. And you can ask yourself, like, what's the first thing you notice when you use a financial app? Is it the design? Is it the speed? Or you look at security? Or we look all 3 of them?
Yeah. And now security data isn't just optional, it's expected. Customers want to know that their info isn't floating around the internet and being part of the next breach.
Exactly. And if your app asks for a password and then doesn't offer you MFA, it's like locking your front door but leaving the windows wide open.
Yeah. And then privacy, respecting privacy means not asking for, things like pets' names, favorite pizza toppings, shoe size, just to open a savings account. It's asking for the right information.
Yeah, that's true. And a question for you to reflect on, like, what's the weirdest piece of personal information you've been asked to provide by a financial app?
Yeah, I think for me, it was what city was my first date. That's weird. But okay, we want to make sure that we encourage our customers to return and make sure that the experience is smooth, secure, and respectful. And if they do that, they'll come back. In a sense, it's kind of like dating. If the first date goes well, they'll come back. But if you ask for way too much information, even before the dinner's over, it's not going to go well.
That's true, yeah. And just to gain and maintain that trust with the customers, it's all about experience, security, and respect. And yes, a clean UI definitely doesn't hurt. So coming up next, we'll show you how these challenges around decentralized and disconnected legacy platforms are there for financial firms. All right, folks. So welcome to the part of the webinar where we'll talk about the fun stuff. It's like decentralized, disconnected, and legacy systems. I'm sure most of the financial banks and financial institutions can relate to this. Or it's like we call it a triple threat of IT headaches.
Yeah. Let's start with the multiple IAM platforms. It's like having a bunch of different remote controls for one TV. Sure, they all technically work, but try find out which one actually does the feature that you want it to do. And next up, we have disconnected applications. These are the applications that don't talk to each other. And then we got legacy platforms. They've been around forever. They're like little islands. They work, but they're not going to connect to your modern agile systems or anything like that. And then we all know that one system that's too critical to replace, but is also too old to update, or even integrate with.
Sure, I'm sure we all can relate to that. So what we're looking here is at a fragmented identity landscape. And the more fragmented it is, the harder it is to secure, manage, and scale. Next up, we'll talk about the impact of security incidents and how that can derail your progress for the digital transformation.
Okay, so now this slide might look like the movie Independence Day. But instead of aliens, it's ransomware, it's attacks. And instead of Will Smith saving the day, it's your security team that's overworked with so many tickets and actually taking care of these real world cyber attacks.
Let's start with the first impact, the reputation damage. One breach, and suddenly your brand is trending all over for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. And then what's really worse, being on the front page of like a news article, of Wall Street Journal for a data breach, or you explaining that to your board why it happened. And then next up, we have money. See, breaches come with fines, lawsuits, and a whole lot of "we told you so" from regulators. And let's not forget the cost of hiring a PR firm to say, hey, we take our security seriously, even though you're doing it after the fact.
That's true. And then there's a productivity hit as well, right? Your teams will drop everything to just respond to the incident. All your important projects stall. You have and the team morale dips, and suddenly everyone's in an incident response expert. I mean, you're just focusing on that.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. What's the most unexpected thing that your team had to do during a security incident?
I'm sure all of us have some or the other weird answers, but yeah, just the impact isn't just technical, it's reputational, financial, and operational. That's why proactive IAM and security strategies are so critical.
So let's look at our next saying. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. This is the cautionary tale of the trio of quotes. It's a warning. If you don't understand your adversaries, you don't understand your own capabilities, you're setting yourself up for failure. And this is especially true for us. If we don't know what the threats are that we just discussed, and you don't know what your own vulnerabilities are, you're flying blind.
That's true. And it's like you're trying to defend a castle without knowing where the walls are the weakest, right? Or even just knowing who's attacking you. You can't win a battle you just don't understand. So as we move forward, let's remember success in cybersecurity isn't just about the tools. It's also about the awareness, insight, and strategy. Know yourself, know your enemy. That's how you win. So up next, we'll show you how to bring all of these pieces together in a unified and modern IAM strategy, your ultimate weapon of war in the battle for identity integrity.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite slides. It's meet your arsenal. And we're not talking about actual bullets and tanks and things like that. We're talking about strategic tools that financial organizations need to fight identity-related threats.
Exactly. Like think of this as your cybersecurity arsenal. On the left, we've got the threats, customer trust issues, legacy IAM systems, regulatory audits. On the right, we've got the tools to fight back.
Let's talk about that first tool, identity governance and administration. This tool is what's going to organize all the different accounts and stakeholders and different persons and attestations and things that they have access to in the organization, this brings sense to it and brings order to it. So it uses tools or features like lifecycle management, role-based authentication, so role-based access control, certifications and reporting, which is super important for SOX and other types of audits. You want to be able to use this tool to show who has access to what. And then you have another tool, separation of duties and third-party management. Again, tying back to the risk that we talked about earlier with third parties, if you manage their identities and their access, you reduce their risk.
That's true. And tools is one thing, and it's also more about adoption, right? I mean, let's be honest. How many of you are still managing roles manually or via spreadsheets or not using roles at all?
Yeah. And now let's talk a little bit about access management. This is where we get tools to manage what things people have access to and how they get access to it. And you have an opportunity to improve the user experience. This is where single sign-on, SSO, or multi-factor authentication and adaptive authentication come into play.
Yeah, here's an example, right? A customer logs in from a device in a different country that you're not aware of, and then should they be challenged with MFA? If that's happening, that's adaptive authentication in action.
Okay, let's move on to privileged access management, or PAM. PAM's that vault that holds all your passwords and credentials, getting them out of like spreadsheets or sticky notes or emails or anything like that. You're able to put them into a vault, secure them, and assign them securely. You can do that with your administration credentials for different things. And then add to that, privileged access management tools give you features like session monitoring. And this is super important to be able to know what the person with the privilege did at any given point. This is extremely important now.
Yeah, next up is CIAM. CIAM is the customer IAM, which is key for any financial institution. So CIAM is all about the customer experience. It's about biometrics, identity verification, and a frictional access. Imagine logging into your banking app with a face scan and getting instant access. That's CIAM done right.
And to bring it all together, orchestration, monitoring across different platforms. Orchestration, if you have the right tool to do this, can actually tie into each of these tools that's really addressing all these threats, give you visibility, tell you how your identity access management program is doing, and also helps you to accelerate integrations to additional applications.
Yeah, that's true. And if you've ever struggled with integrating IAM tools across legacy systems, you're not alone. I'm sure all of us can relate to this.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen that with our clients. So these are your weapons: IGA, AM, PAM, and CIAM, and orchestration. Each one of these plays a role in defending identity integrity. So let's go to this next phrase. Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. This is all about preparation. The best warriors, just like the best organizations, don't wait for a crisis to figure things out. They prepare, they plan, they position themselves to win before even the first fire is shot or shot is fired.
That's so true. And it applies in the world of identity and access management. This means building a proactive strategy. It means knowing your risks, understanding your architecture, and having the right tools and policies in place before a breach happens. It's the difference between scrambling to patch a breach at 2 a.m. or confidentially blocking it before it even gets through the front door.
So we got to ask ourselves, are we preparing to win? Are we just hoping not to lose? Because with cybersecurity, hope isn't a strategy, but preparation absolutely is. So up next, we're going to show you how to balance security and experience using the weapons of war. So our first tactic, this is probably one of the most critical and also most challenging tactics in identity management, which is balancing security and user experience. Because we've seen this before, people trying to get to work, do things, and they just struggle because there's like, oh, this platform is so slow. It's such a pain to get to what I need to do just to get to work. We don't want them feeling like they're trying to go through a maze to get their job done. So you notice this scale is a great metaphor. We want to balance all these things. And when we look at all the tools that we have, it helps us balance this experience, access management, identity governance and administration. We control who gets in and sees what, control the right people and have the right access at the right time. And then we have CIAM, where we can see focus on seamless, secure customer interactions. The other tool that we balance in is privilege access management. We saw protects high-risk accounts and sensitive operations. And then orchestration balances all together to help us to even do something like ISPM, where you can do identity security posture management. So now that we've seen how these weapons will work and balance the battle for security and experience, now let's talk about our next tactic.
Yeah, let's look at a customer journey, right? This slide captures the full spectrum of the customer identity journey, from the moment someone applies for a credit card to the financial transaction approval. As you can see, identity verification isn't just a one-time event, it's a continuous process. Let's start on the left. When a customer applies for a new account or a credit card, we initiate several layers of identity verification, identity risk scoring, device fingerprinting, government ID scanning, and even digital ID checks from the consortium data that we've collected. It's like a digital background check, fast, seamless, and invisible to the user when it's done right. Next comes the selfie verification. This isn't just about snapping a photo. It's about matching that selfie to a government-issued ID, checking for liveness, and screening against biometric blacklist. It's a facial recognition with a brain and a fraud radar. Once the identity is verified, we move into credential enrollment. This includes cryptographic device banding, biometric enrollment, and even mobile network operator verification to ensure that the device is legit. When the account is open, we use real-time push notification and then step-up authentication to confirm the customer's intent. And if they ever need to reset their PIN, no problem. Facial biometrics make it secure and self-service without the additional cost of help desk. As customers shop online, especially with new merchants, we analyze their geolocation, the device context, and their behavioral patterns to detect anomalies. And before any high-risk transaction is approved, we notify the customer for confirmation, closing the loop with transparency and trust. The key takeaway here is that identity management isn't a checkpoint, it's a journey. And with continuous risk-based authentication, we can protect that journey every step of the way.
So that's tactic number 2. Let's look at 3, building a solid infrastructure. And it's not just about logging in securely, it's about managing identities across every touch point. You think of branch locations, mobile items, ATM, even third-party platforms.
Yeah, that's true. And look at the variety of interfaces that the consumers use. You can use an online banking platform, mobile apps, insurance portals, or trading platforms. And CIAM ensures that no matter where the user interacts, the experience is seamless and secure.
Yeah, so now under the hood, CIAM has 2 major engines: self-service user management and adaptive access management. Think about it, giving users control while keeping security tight.
Right, that's true. So users can register, manage their credentials, set preferences, and even register their devices. And on the adaptive side, we're talking biometrics, social login, and smart MFA that adjust based on the risk.
And let's not forget the API layer. With so many systems talking to each other, CRM, banking apps, claim systems, API gateways, and management is so critical to keeping data secure.
Yeah, and that's where the fraud identification comes in as well. The risk engine scores identity, device, and credentials. It even detects the bots and integrates external threat intelligence.
And then all of this feeds into analytics, behavioral, device, identity. It's like having security radar that gets smarter over time.
Yeah, and behind the scenes, all the data from all these apps, how it's using the CRM, trading, claims, how is it all consolidated into a unified identity store? That's the key for visibility and control.
And then finally, this architecture supports a wide range of teams, from a call center agent trying to do their job to fraud analysts trying to engineers. Everyone plays a role in maintaining identity integrity.
That's true. And so when we talk about CIAM in finance, it's not just a login system, it's a full ecosystem of trust, compliance, and resilience. Next, we'll explore how identity orchestration brings all of these components together in a cohesive solution.
And that's our 4th tactic, orchestrate. Orchestration of your identity and access management program pulls everything together. here we can see that we have a lot to pull together, and what we've talked about before. In addition to the tools or the weapons of war that we talked about, whether your IGA platform or your access management platform or your privilege access management platform or your CIAM platform, all those add to also identities, different types of identities, non-human identities, privileged ones. And then you have stakeholders, lines of business, audit and compliance, again, all those other things that we had talked about. And finally, all the apps and infrastructure that we're applying all these security controls. You definitely need something to orchestrate and bring everything together so you see everything in one place. A unified layer that makes it easier to manage and help you make better decisions. And then, this isn't just for IAM teams, but this could be for CISOs, for other people who need to see how things are going. And it breaks down those silos so that not only can you see everything, but then you can help extend the reach of these platforms. So we talked about 4 different sayings in this webinar about money, mandates, and monitoring. Our first saying is, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. What does that essentially mean? Know your goals. We want to make sure that we do that in our industry, that we know what we want to do, and then find the tools and things that we need to do to actually achieve them. Then if you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every defeat gained, you will also suffer a defeat. Well, that's knowing your enemies. And we talked plenty about all the different threats that we have to a good identity and access management platform, a solid one. And then it says, if you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. In other words, know your weapons. And we talked about our weapons, IGA, access management, privilege access management, CIAM, and orchestration. And then victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. Simply put, know your strategy. So, all right, we covered a lot today in money, mandates, and monitoring. So know that you know how your goals, you know your enemies, you know your weapons and strategy. Go wage your battles successfully. And we're always here to help out, be an ally. Now let's send it back over to Tom.
Octavio, Praveen, thanks so much. Appreciate your time and insight. I want to remind our attendees, if you haven't submitted questions, do so now. We still have some opportunity to answer some. We won't get to every question, but those questions we don't get to today, we'll be sure to get responses back to you via email. So Praveen, Octavio, I want to summarize to some extent here. Where do you continue to see the biggest gaps in financial identity security programs?
Yeah, I can take this one. If you
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so we see we deal with a lot of different organizations, and we see a lot of gaps in how they address this. And we actually do this a lot through our advisory engagements, where we actually understand not only just from an overall perspective, like a high level, but we start looking at specific gaps. And some of these are integrated, identity silos and fragmented access controls. That's one of the things that we see. So this is like disconnected systems, leaving unmonitored access points, things like API and bots, all that stuff isn't really thought out. So that's one of the gaps. The other gap that we have is third-party and vendor risk. We mentioned it earlier in our presentation because, they might have a great security system internally and good policies and procedures, but they may not expect that or require that of their third parties. And we see that as a risk. And then we have advanced threats and AI exploitation. These are in sophisticating the attacks that we're seeing. And then finally, we see consent fatigue and opaque data use, basically poorly designed consent forms. It erodes trust in what they show to their clients.
So if we were to summarize, gentlemen, fundamentally, what does a modern financial identity security program need to include?
Yeah, I can go for this one. A model financial identity security program should include 6 major concepts. We talked about the core components and controls with a cross mix of outcome-based technologies across IGA, access management, PAM, and CIAM. And we also talked about our arsenal, IGA, where we talked about automated lifecycle management, RBAC, SOD enforcement, and audit reporting, how it can reduce the risk and the compliance effort. Access management is focused more on SSO, adaptive and risk-based authentication, multi-factor authentication, and the unified access policies. And then we talked about PAM, where we talk about credential vaulting, session monitoring, just-in-time access, and the strong controls for both human and machine accounts. And last but not least, the CIAM, customer IAM, talks about biometrics and passwordless authentication, automated identity verification, and seamless omni-channel experiences, as well as self-service consent management. And then how we bring all of this together in a cohesive environment using the orchestration platforms. And the second is the third-party and supplier risk management, how you can do that using the centralized oversight and rigor across the third parties. And the third is the consent and privacy first design, how you manage the consent and privacy of your customers. And then how you use the adaptive orchestration and integration overall. And then we also have continuous compliance monitoring. We talked about CFPB, GLBA, SOX, and other compliance mandates that we have to work closely with the audit team for constant monitoring. And then last but not the least, how you can have expertise and partnership with allies like Simeio and other vendors who can have your advanced orchestration end-to-end deployment, continuous optimization, and response to emerging risks. They can bring all their experience working with different clients of your scale and bring value to it. So bottom line is the threats and consent privacy issues listed are critical motivators, but a strong answer will explicitly name the modern program elements and solutions required to defeat those risks and meet growing regulatory and consumer expectations. And
So speaking of Simeio, what do you want our audience to know about how you're helping your customers solve their identity security programs?
Octavio, you want to go?
So we want to make sure that we build customer trust through transparent practices and minimize the risk of external and internal breaches. And we want to help clients meet evolving regulatory requirements.
We've given people a lot in a short period of time here. Octavio, Praveen, what are the fundamental questions that our viewers need to go back and ask about how they approach identity security today?
So some of the questions that could be key takeaways for our viewers is, are you empowering your customers with clear, active control and visibility over the data that they have, the consents they have to deal with? Do you have real-time or unified oversight over every identity, whether it's human or machine, and over every access point? And also, how robust is your third-party risk management system that we were talking about earlier? Can you rapidly detect and contain incidents linked to partners? I have three more. Are you proactively defending against next-gen threats like AI-driven fraud, deepfakes, and cross-channel attacks? How quickly can you produce audit-ready, evidence-backed reports for any regulator or any customer demand? And then finally, are your identity security and consent mechanisms helping you build competitive differentiation and brand trust? So it's just kind of like to sum all this up. Every day with financial enterprises, we're working with new banking regulations, new requirements for security programs. So they're making sure that they're transparent and robust. And so by aligning technology, policy, and process to support trust, minimize breach risk, and ensure compliance, companies like us, Simeio, we help bring focus, flexibility, and capability to help institutions like what we've talked about meet these demands and stay ahead in a rapidly evolving landscape.
Very well said. Octavio, Praveen, where can our attendees go to learn even more?
They can go to Simeio.com, where we actually have more information about the services and tools that we provide.
Excellent. Praveen and Octavio, grateful for your time, for your insight. Thank you for answering these questions as well.
Thank you.
Hey, one more thanks to our attendees, because we know you took time out of your day to attend this session. We're grateful for that and trust that you're bringing back some terrific insight you can put into your own program. As always, I look forward to seeing you at one of our upcoming events. And until then, for Information Security Media Group, I'm Tom Field. Thank you for giving us your time and attention today. We're grateful.